Hi, everybody. You made it. You're here. If you intended to be with me, Leanne Reagan, at the Learning and Development Roundtable for a session on how to actually increase your resilience, your grit, and your ability to manage change, then you're in the right place. If you're like, what are we talking about? And somehow the links got mixed up, you are still welcome. So, however you come to be here, you are so welcome. I know that things are challenging to say the least in the world right now, and folks in this group are very wise and including speaking many languages. So I just put a thing in the chat there. If you want to turn on closed captioning and turn it into another language, you are more than welcome to do that. And no worries, we don't have to have an agreement. We can have 35 different languages going on. So if that would help you, please feel free to do that. Super pleased to be here, Leanne Reagan. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Roundtable. We've been going for more than 13 years now. And today I thought, given everything that's going on, I really wanted to give you some very practical, pragmatic tools. So we'll talk about how can you figure out, kind of do a little bit of a diagnostic. By the way, Ioana just joined us. Welcome, welcome. Because if you know where your starting point is, then you can be more strategic about going forward. And then we'll talk about tools that address your ability to increase your resilience, your grit, your ability to manage change, and hopefully you'll come away feeling inspired and hopeful. You'll get a workbook. I'll talk more about that in a second with all the resources that I talk about today. Also, if you are a UN staff member, you can count this towards your professional development if you wish. You just need to sign the form. I'll give you a link at the end of the workshop today. And as a member, and by the way, if you weren't already a member by registering for today, you automatically became one. So welcome, welcome. And you automatically get access to all 13 years of resources. So I'll show you how to get to find those as well. So I had some really great feedback last week. I'll ask you for feedback should you wish to share any at the end of our time together today. And last month's feedback included kind of figuring out what is the through line to all of these roundtables. So I thought that was such a great comment. Vitali's coming in. So I really focused on things that help your professional and your personal development that are very practical and very evidence-based, and things that you can use right away to help yourself, your team, and your family. So no matter what kind of topic we're talking about, and by the way, the roundtables are always free. That's kind of the through line there. Welcome to Edna, who's just come in. Welcome, welcome. And welcome to Vitali and Tiffany. Yeah. Padma stays here. Welcome. So, welcome if you are completely flummoxed and floored by everything going on right now, and you're just focusing on staying calm and trying to keep breathing. Or maybe you're going back and forth between feeling very accomplished and I've got this, and oh no, sometime in the same hour, or maybe even in the same minute. And so maybe you're feeling like you're on top of it all and you want to stay that way. So, however, you're coming to us today, you're in the right place. Today, you're going to discover if you're a snail, among other things, a snail, an octopus, a fox, or a chicken, and why that matters for your resilience. You're going to learn how to put the I in try. So, we're going to respell that as an acronym and how that changes everything. And then you're going to walk away with a very fun, I really hope this is super fun for you, my RISE tool. And even when it feels like things might be conspiring against you. So those are some of the things that you'll walk away with today. As you chose to, I'm just so honored that you chose to be with us today. So I really want this to be helpful and useful for your time, your precious time. So if you happen to have that inner critic that is sitting on your shoulder, maybe whispering or maybe yelling into your into your brain that, oh, I can't do this. This is too hard. I don't, just there, that inner critic is just really taking you for a ride. Just really make sure to shush that inner critic. You are in the right place. We've got you. I'm just so, so happy that you're here. This is one of many things that I do in terms of training. I've been in this learning and development space for, I'm coming up on 40 years, actually, if you can believe it, 40 years. So there's a link to my catalog there in case you're interested in finding out what else I can do. And then just some quick housekeeping things. Please participate. You don't have to wait to ask a question or make a comment or share a resource. There's lots of smart folks in our group, so please feel free to participate any and all times. You can unmute or you can put a comment, a question, or a resource in the chat. At the request of members, Roundtable members, that is, I've made a LinkedIn and a Facebook Learning and Development Roundtable. So if you want to keep in touch between our monthly roundtables, you can do that with the links in the chat. And by the way, if future you is watching this, all the links in the recording will be down below. If you find value in our time together, please, I would ask you help our community grow and share the link to join. It's free, and you and your colleagues and friends are most welcome. Also, members have given me feedback that they want the resources more quickly. So at the second that we end here today, the PowerPoint deck will land in your inbox. So you'll get a copy of this deck. And then on Monday, you'll get a copy of the audio recording, the video recording, and also the workbook. Welcome, Mary Lynn, who's just joining us. So lovely to have you here. Also, I really want to be kind to your future self. So I'm sure that you already have tools to do this, but if you're looking for a new one, I'll just put this link in the chat. If you want a way to help you remember what you're learning, I cycle through different tools each roundtable. And this one is a Google Doc. It's just to know it's not editable. So you need to make a copy. So you click on the link, you make a copy, and then you can edit it. So it's a way to keep track of your learning so that you can actually apply and use what you're learning. So that's some housekeeping things. Before we dive into our topic, I just kind of want to get a sense. Feel free to drop an emoji in the chat that represents how resilient are you feeling right now? How resilient are you feeling right now? And there is no judgment. If you are on top of it all and you're feeling pumped and powerful, that's fantastic. And if you are barely keeping your eyes open, that is totally fine. So we're just meeting you where you're at. So what do you think in terms of your resilience? Oh, hi, Padma. Okay, so you're feeling high, great. Okay, lovely, lovely. Okay, Tiffany has got kind of for those who are watching later, kind of a emoji. Okay. Oh, Tiffany. Okay, and tired. Yeah, I hear you. It's a lot. It's a lot, a lot, a lot. Anybody else? An emoji or a word? Abigail. Okay, kind of has I don't know how you interpret that. It kind of looks very peaceful emoji, but maybe it means something different to you. So, okay. And notice how we all have different starting points, right? Angel, okay, has a big smiley face. Lovely. Oh, Fatima's coming in. Peaceful. Abigail says, okay, lovely. Okay, so just kind of remember where you're at, and then let's see if we can build on that, right? Wherever you're starting at, let's see if we can build on that. So, why are we doing this now? Why this and why now? Well, first of all, because you asked for it. So, this was a request. Actually, I combined a couple of requests from members to come up with this topic. By the way, you're always welcome to suggest topics. So, please feel free to put that in the chat if you have suggestions for roundtables coming up. So the stakes are high right now, and so is the division. I don't think we've ever been more divided. Um, and folks were asking for sort of professional rather, agility, keeping up with change, pivoting in real time. Those were some of the things that people have said in the feedback form. So today you're going to diagnose yourself, discover, and three tools to help you take action and do some things. So, are you ready to dive in? Actually, before we do that, just let me know, where are you right now? So, where in the world are you right now? I was just saying before some of you joined, I'm in beautiful southern France. It's sunny today. Yvonne's in Qatar. We've got Guyana, Tiffany. Marilyn is in Bangkok. Oh, lovely. Nairobi. Oh, beloved Nairobi. I just moved away from there. Cote d'Ivoire, Angel, another Nairobi. South India. Oh, hi, Padre. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Uh, so let's dive in then. Uh, so I found this cute little video, which I thought would be a good way to kick us off. So let me just play this and let me know in the chat if you can hear and see it okay. Okay, so let me know, has anyone seen those clips before? I just think they're so lovely. And I wanted to kind of start us off on a strong foundation of that in a world that's really trying to divide us, unity really is our strength, right? Unity really is our strength, especially with diversity. So on that note, uh, talking about resilience and grit and managing change, I really want to blend in a couple of different perspectives. And you can figure out what your ratio is. So you might be focused a little bit more on one than the other. So whatever fits you best. But we really want to look at the individual perspective. So what's happening for yourself and maybe your family, maybe your team. And then we also want to look at the environment, right? What's happening in your community, in your overall organization, in your country, in the world, because those things play together, right? They really, really impact each other. And sometimes we can work extremely hard as individuals, not realizing that there's lots of systemic things happening around us that are making it very challenging. And also, just a gentle challenge. Has anyone heard of the fundamental attribution error? It's a bit of a mouthful, but has anyone heard of that? It's such a good uh, it's such a good thing to know about. Hard to practice, but a good tool to know about. So basically, the fundamental here, I'll copy this information into the chat here. The fundamental attribution error is we tend to, when something's going on, we tend to, if we've done something wrong as an individual, we tend to blame the environment. Here we go. Oh, sorry, it's having trouble sending it. There we go. So if something's going wrong for ourselves, we tend to look outwards and say there's something in the environment that is happening to cause that to happen. But for other people, we tend to internalize it for them. We tend to say, well, it's because they don't care. It's because they're just not a good person. Right. So we just kind of want to look at those glasses or that perspective, that view that we're looking at, because we do tend to have this self-serving bias, right? So you may want to think about those things as we go through these tools. So give me a thumbs up. Are you ready to start with the first of three tools? I'm going to give you three tools for diagnosis, three tools to help you move forward, and three tools to take action. Great. Okay, good. Okay, so I what I did is I looked through my toolbox. I've got like 40 years almost of learning and development tools, and I picked the three that I thought would be the easiest and the most helpful for you. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty tall. I don't know what this is in meters, but I'm 5'10". So I'm pretty tall. And I can tell you, not that I wear a lot of nylons these days, but the so-called one size fits all nylons do not fit me, right? It does not take long until someone's relating to that, till they're like they just don't stay up. So I really wanted to give you a couple of tools to help you do some diagnosis. This is not, I'm not being a professional psychiatrist or psychologist here. These are just some fun, simple, easy tools. Because if you know your starting point, it makes everything else so much easier, right? So, three tools to kind of figure out where are you at in this whole world of grit and resilience and managing change. So, the first tool is this will skill matrix. Let me know in the chat. Has anyone heard of this tool? It's so good. I, when I'm doing workshops with teams, I almost always use this tool. Has anybody heard of this tool? Uh, so basically, okay, so looks like, yeah, okay, yeah, so some of you have. Great, okay. So yeah, jump in with your experience if you have any comments about it. But basically, if you're looking to increase your grit and your resilience and your ability to manage change, it can be helpful to look at, is it an issue of will or is it an issue of skill? Because sometimes it's one thing, but we're focusing on the other thing. By the way, welcome, Lisa and Felix. So lovely that you're here. Thank you for showing up. We're talking about three tools to help you diagnose before you sort of go forward. And this is our first tool, the will skill matrix. So, will is all about motivation. And are you connected to your vision and your values, right? So, if you need to be doing something and your motivation is low, that's a very strategic thing to know in terms of trying to move forward. It may also be, so it's an and or, it could be an issue of skill. So you're trying to move forward with increasing your grit, your resilience, and ability to manage change. Maybe you need, as you're doing right now, maybe you need to take a workshop, right? There's some skills that you need to learn. So out of these two things, we get four possibilities. So we've got low will, meaning unwilling, and low skill, meaning unable. That's the hardest place to be. And so if you're there, give yourself lots of grace, lots and lots of grace. We can also be unwilling. So your will is low, but your skill is high, right? So then we know that it's your motivation that you want to work on. Another possibility is you have a low skill, but high will. So you are motivated. You just need to take some training, right? Some learning. And then the sweet spot, you're firing on all cylinders, is you are highly skilled in whatever area you're focused in, and you're super motivated. So what do you think when you're thinking about your will and your skill? Where are you high and low right now? And you might want to think about a specific example because, of course, it'll depend on what you're focusing on. So, for example, I'm living in southern France and I am not fluent in French. So, it's definitely a skill that I need to focus on. So my skill is low. So I do my Duolingo every day. I'm on my 1000 and I don't know, 35th day. And I notice my motivation can really lag. So the Duolingo is helpful because I can just do one simple, quick lesson a day if that's all I have energy for. Does anybody else have an example or want to share? Can let me know there. Oh, our church bells are going off. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm in a tiny, tiny, tiny medieval village. And also, if you have any questions about this, you can let me know as well. Otherwise, if you're ready to move on to the second tool, you can let me know. Just give me a thumbs up, and that will be my key to move on. Okay, I see a thumbs up there. Okay, so your first diagnostic tool is look at your will and look at your skill, right? Your motivation and your skill level. The second one is your mindset. So this is Carol Dweck's research, and I have to say, this is one of the books that has influenced me the most in my lifetime. Like it is a big, big game changer. You can measure your mindset. I put the link in the chat, and if future you is looking at this, you can just look down below to the link. This is all about what happens when you hit adversity. So you hit a challenge, you hit a roadblock, you hit a stumbling block, and what tends to be your reaction? Now, it'll change. This isn't 100% the same across every area for sure. Uh, and we can tend to fall into these two categories. So Carol Dweck's research says we can have a growth mindset or we can have a fixed mindset. So, in a growth mindset, you see failure as an opportunity to grow. It does not, I mean, it might be hard. If you fail at something, it's not that you're going to be, wildly ecstatic, but you do see it as an opportunity to grow. You see challenges as, again, something to grow, and you like to try new things. You really like to stretch yourself. The opposite, and you can think of these kind of on a continuum, is a fixed mindset. So if you come up against a roadblock, a fixed mindset person can tend to say, failure is the limit of my abilities. So things are set. I can't really change things. And when I fail at something, I tend to get frustrated and I give up. I'll give you two kind of examples, concrete examples. This comes from her book, her best-selling book on mindset. One is a personal example, and one is something that happened in school. The two different women, were both stood up at the altar. So they were two separate weddings. They were all ready to get married, and the person that they were marrying did not show up, right, to their own wedding. They were stood up. So one woman had a fixed mindset. Right. So think about how you would react to that situation, right? I mean, it's going to be tough regardless. But overall, would you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? The woman with the fixed mindset was completely devastated. I'm not lovable. I'm never going to find love again. This is awful, horrible, terrible, no good. My life is over. This is just the worst possible thing ever. Okay, that's a fixed mindset. The growth mindset, the woman with the growth mindset, true story. This is in Carol Dweck's book. She changed out of her wedding dress and put on a little black dress And they went on to have the reception. And she started it off with, and I don't, I know this is a cultural reference, but Gloria Gaynor's song, I Will Survive. Right? It's kind of a classic from many decades ago. So she was devastated, but she was able to move forward. Right. So that's one example. Second example is kids who were actually, I don't know how old they were. I think they were relatively young, young people. They were given the opportunity after they took an exam to look at other people's test results. So not that, they saw their own, they know what they got on the test, but they were able to look at other people's. So for example, I could look at Edna's and Angel's and Felix and Lisa's, etc. The kids, where do you think, maybe this might be too hard of a question to, but see if you can guess it. Where do you think the attention was focused for the fixed mindset? What were they looking at? Okay, yes, Lisa. So that's a great clarifying thing. So both of sets, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, were looking at other people's scores. Um, Padma was saying they were looking where they were wrong. Oh, so Edna, yes. So Edna's saying the people who did better than them. So so you're correct. Which group was it, the growth mindset or the fixed mindset that looked at people that did better than them? Who did yeah, so yeah, yes, Angel, that's right. One of these types, the growth mindset or the fixed mindset, was looking at people who did better than them. So was it the growth mindset people that looked at people who did better than them or the fixed mindset? Yes, Yvonne. Yes, it was growth mindset. Yes, yes, Padre say. Yeah. They wanted to learn how they could do better, right? They wanted to grow. Like, oh, I got that question wrong. This is how Padre say answered it. This is the right. Okay, I'm learning, right? I'm doing better. I'll do better next time. Where do you think the people with the fixed mindset looked? So they're still looking at other people's scores. So if they're not looking at people who did better than them, where do you think, what kind of scores were they looking at? The growth mindset looked at people that did better. Yes, Lisa, the fixed mindset people looked at people who did worse than them because they wanted to make themselves feel better, right? They just felt so bad about their scores. They weren't focused on learning, right? And growing. They were focused on making themselves feel better because the failure just felt so icky. So again, you can measure your mindset. I'll put the link in your workbook. You'll get that on Monday, and I put the link in the chat there. Okay, so again, we're talking about diagnosis. Where is your starting point, right? If you're looking at building your growth, your resilience, your ability to manage change, your grit, you've got this tool to look at. Is it an issue of will and or skill? And is it a mindset issue, right? What kind of mindset? And you may, I know this can be tender territory, but you may look to when you grew up, right? How did your family treat mistakes, right? That can also be a key to your mindset, right? Okay, the third one is your grit score. So just like you can measure your mindset, you can measure your grit. Right. So I'll put this in the chat. I've given you a link to the survey, and I've given you a link to a blog post that has more information. So these three tools really give a really nice perspective of where you're starting out. And what do I mean by grit? It's another tool that looks at when you hit a roadblock, when you hit a challenge, how do you tend to respond? And I feel really compelled, by the way. So in English, we have this saying, put your nose to the grindstone, which is a terrible saying, right? So if this wheel was turning and I actually put my nose on there, that would draw blood, right? So grit is not about working 24/7, not taking breaks, never stopping, never failing. It's about strategic, smart, strategically and smartly working hard, right? It's not about working yourself to the bone. And I think, again, that notion of putting your nose to the grindstone like that actually draws blood. Okay, let me just pause there for a second. Um, if you have any questions, comments, or other resources to add, because I know lots of wisdom in the group here. Padma is saying grit is holding on strong, right? Oh, yeah, grit is. Thank you for asking, Padma. Say grit is if you hit a roadblock, if you hit a challenge, if you fail at something, it's about your reaction, right? It's about getting up and trying again. It's about realizing that your life is not over, that everybody has setbacks, and you may need to take a break. You may need to get some support, but you're not giving up, right? You don't, at the merest whiff, at the merest scent of not doing well, you don't give up. But it's strategic. It's not about working 24/7 and never taking a break and never changing course. Like the path you might be going down may not be the right path. You might need to take a detour. Let me know, Padma, does that make sense? And does anybody else have anything to add? Thanks. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Felix, how does one manage willpower to do hard things? Oh, that's such a well-timed question. I love that. I'm going to give you a specific tool. That's next up. It's literally the in 2 slides from now. So I have a very, very good tool for that. So if you could just hang on just for a second, I'll share it in a minute. Any other questions? Tiffany is adding to Felix's question. You're curious. Okay, yeah. Yeah, because so you're referring to the will skill matrix here. Yeah, you can have all the skills, but if you are having a tough time with your motivation, then that can affect everything. Oh, Priscilla's coming in. In an uncomfortable or toxic work environment. Okay. Okay, so and also given the world stage right now, right? It can just be really, really hard to be motivated and have will. Hopefully, the tools that I'll continue to introduce, we've done 3 for diagnosing you, and then there'll be 3 for helping you focus and 3 for taking action. Yeah, because you can be very unmotivated even though the tasks are not that hard. I mean, sometimes I know I've watched myself. I'll turn, there's an English saying like we turn a mountain into a molehill, like, oh, I'm tired and it just feels dramatic and this is just going to be so hard and it's going to take forever. And like, really, I sit down and it's like a 5-minute thing. Of course, it's not always like that. Um, yeah, I love that you're focusing on will. Yeah, it's such an important driver of our brain. In fact, the Heath brothers in the book, so Chip and Dan Heath, they have a book called Switch, How to Change When Change is Hard. And they talk about the rider. I'll put this in I'm just going to write this down. If I don't write it down, it goes out of my brain. I'll put this note in your workbook and how the elephant is kind of their name for you're focusing on the task, you're trying to get that done. Or sorry, that's the rider. The rider, you're trying to go in a particular direction, but the elephant, based on your motivation and will, like steering an elephant is not easy. If the elephant wants to go left and you want to go right, it's going the way it wants to. Has anybody heard of the Heath brothers? Have you read their work? Everything they write is great. I'm a big fan. Also, I wanted to welcome Priscilla just came in. Welcome, welcome, Priscilla. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
Lisa, oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so Lisa put in switch, how to change things when change is hard. You're welcome. Yeah, all of their work is great. They do such good stuff. Okay. Oh, and a link there too. Thank you, Lisa. That's so kind. And I'll put a link in your workbook I'm sure I've written about this in my blogs as well. Okay, so we've done three tools for diagnosis. We've got the will and the skill. We've got your survey. You can take the survey if you wish to measure your growth and your fixed, and it will change, right? You might be, maybe you love to run. Like you don't, you've got a growth mindset, you're keen, you love it, off you go. And maybe you're got it in your head that you can't do math, right? So you have a very fixed mindset around that. So we can shift back and forth between these. You have a link to take if you wish to measure your mindset, and then also your grit score. All right. So what happens when you come up against a challenge? Okay, give me a thumbs up. Are you good to move on? Now that we've done a little bit of diagnosis, you've got the tools for that. Um, are you are you okay to move forward with three tools for moving forward? Okay, great. Okay. And by the way, I found this. I was just in Greece a little while ago, and oh, the beaches, and oh, I came away with all these beautiful rocks I brought home, even though they weighed a bit of weight. But we're not aiming for perfection here, right? So there's still going to be some bumps. Um, but this image reminded me of, give yourself some grace. And we don't want you putting your nose to the grindstone. Like no blood. There should be no blood involved. Okay, so two of you asked about Felix and Tiffany asked about, kind of indirectly asked about motivation. So you've got your diagnosis. This tool here, so I created this survey. It's based on National Geographic research that I did, and it's fantastic. When I'm meaning that people respond to it very well. It's not just me. So when I'm in person doing workshops, I'll have paper bags around the room, numbered 1 through 6, and people need to decide how are they going. There's something on the bottom of the paper bags, and they have to decide how are they going to decide um, to look under the bag. So imagine that you have those bags in front of you, and I'm going to give you 6 different ways, and let me know which way speaks to you the most. And again, I gave you a link to the survey and also a link for more information. So, would it be important for you to achieve your goal? Like that is so important to you. You just want to tick, cross, cross. You want the goal achieved of turning over the bag. Okay, that's one. Would you take a leadership position? So you've got people around you, and you would want to be the leader of the group and figure out whether you should turn this bag over. And it's quite common you might resonate with two of the things that I'm saying as well, or maybe even three. Or would you kind of want to be with other people, but not in a leadership position, but you'd want to be amongst people and have that conversation about how to decide whether to turn over the bag? Or would you make the decision on your own? Like, I don't need to talk to other people. I don't need to be a leader. I'm going to make the decision on my own. Thank you very much. It's done. Or would you consult someone else? Would you do some research? Would you talk to your boss? Would you talk to a religious leader? You would consult someone else or something else? You do some research. Or the last one, would you imagine talking to yourself in the future? Like you would think about the implications into the future. So let me know in the chat which one sounds like something you would do, because that's an indication of your motivation style. So did any of those resonate with you? when I do this in real life, the folks that wanted to consult with other people are like they're noisily chatting away, that corner of the room's quite loud. Okay, Lisa's saying 4205. Okay, so you'd be, if I've got the numbers right, you'd want to take a leadership position. You'd do it on your own or consult. No, no, two. Yeah, or and consult your future self. Okay. Pamela saying achievement and future. Nice, nice. Tiffany's saying, I'm conflicted between two of them. I do it on my own and also think of the future. Yeah, it's totally fine to have two. Yeah, I mean, human beings are complicated, right? Okay, Priscilla's saying achievement, power, and future. Okay, nice. Yeah, and it's really fun to do this in person or do this, get your team to do this or some friends to do this because it really, really, really changes how you motivate yourself. If you try to motivate someone who wants to work on their own, that's autonomy, right? The one at the bottom there, by having them socialize with people, they're going to be unhappy, right? It's not going to be a natural fit. Um, And does anyone, oh, and Felix is saying, I'm self-directed. I take ownership of my own goals. Yeah. So, Felix, let's just pretend that I was your supervisor, right? So, you're head down. That's autonomy. That's one of the styles is autonomy. If I'm trying to micromanage you and like tell you exactly how to do every precise little thing, I'm going to guess that you would be very unhappy. Am I right? If I really, really micromanaged you and I kind of forced you to do things in very specific, precise ways. Would that be would that be difficult for you? Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah, so we want to, and now I know some of you probably have more um, flexibility, shall we say, in your work than others, but really think about, for example, has anybody tried to dress a toddler when that toddler did not want to get dressed? Has anybody done that? Or maybe you're trying to put an outfit on a toddler and they want something else. They don't want that outfit, they want another outfit. Do we have any parents or grandparents or has anybody every day, Tiffany? Okay, okay, like hats off to you. Lisa saying indeed, yeah. So that's a question of motivation, right? If we can figure out what's motivating us, it's like dressing that toddler very smoothly and easily. If we go against our motivation style, so the person who likes power, that's the leadership position. If they don't have a leadership position, then we're going against their motivation style. And that's like trying to dress a toddler who just, thank you very much, not interested in wearing that outfit. By the way, I introduced this with, let me see if I can find that slide quickly. Some of our biases here. Um, that's not it. This one here. We have that fundamental attribution error. So once we find out some of our findings in these surveys, we can tend to think, oh, my way is the best. For example, my motivation style is the best. Well, and we don't necessarily know that we're doing that. So please know that there's good days and bad days for each of these styles. So for example, achievement, they love to get things done. Check, cross, cross, really focus, get that thing done. On a bad day, maybe they're focused on the wrong task. They haven't realized that, the team has changed direction, or they're so focused on getting things done that they burn out and they expect other people to work too hard and burn out. Power, those are folks who are motivated by a sense of leadership. On a bad day, of course, it wouldn't take a nanosecond to give examples of people that have used their leadership power to be corrupt, right? So that's on a bad day. Affiliation, those are our people who know when people's birthdays are and they're really connected socially. On a bad day, I'm just making this up. Fatima, oh, I heard you saw that movie last week. And Edna, is that a new dress that you're wearing? And oh, it looks so beautiful. Meanwhile, they're not getting any work done. They're just so busy socializing. Autonomy. Those are our folks. I think was it Felix said that? Yeah. Like to do things on their own. On a bad day, maybe they haven't consulted with other people and they're not focused on the right tasks, right? External. Those are the people that are consulting with religious leaders, community leaders, staff, team, boss, who's ever in the ecosystem that's important to them. On a bad day, I'm completely making this up, of course. Abigail, did you see what Angela's wearing? Like, oh, those glasses, that's terrible. And Edna, did you see Lisa's car? What a clunker, right? Like they're making judgments about external superficial things, right? Based on people's clothing and appearance and social standing and all of those kinds of things, right? Very inappropriate and very superficial. Um, okay, and then the last one is future. So those are the folks focused on all those pressing social problems that are not going to get resolved tomorrow. They really have a view to the future. So climate change and ending gender-based violence and uplifting people and you know out of poverty and making sure everyone has access to education and clean water and da 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 da. On a bad day, they can be a little bit like achievement. Felix, why are you taking a break? Don't you know we got to work, 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 work? We got to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't you know the planet's burning, right? Meanwhile, they can burn out, right? So, positives and negatives for each style. Okay, comments, questions. Let's take a quick breather here. Anything you want to say? Anything that didn't make sense, didn't resonate? Just take a pause. So we've talked about our 3 ways to diagnose, right? So you're going to end up with 9 tools in total. So we've got the diagnosis tool number 1, the will skill. Diagnosis 2 is the mindset. And diagnosis tool 3 is your grit score. And now we're talking about how do you actually get some movement, right? You move forward. So we've got our motivation style. Padma say, can 3 and 4, so affiliation and autonomy. Absolutely. So you probably, I'm going to guess, Padma say, that that means that sometimes you like to be on your own and sometimes you want to be with people and checking in. And if you were, for example, in an open office, like 100% of the time, you're 100% of the time surrounded by people, and constantly having to work as part of a team, you probably get a little bit itchy. That's the affiliation. If you had to do that 100%. And if you had to do autonomy, so 100% by yourself, you're working remotely, you're not seeing colleagues, you're not interacting with people, that would probably be hard for you as well. You'd want a mix of those 2 things. Does that resonate, Padma? Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to want to watch that balance and maybe pay attention of, oh, okay, I've had a lot of social time, a lot of affiliation. I need some time on my own right now to just, or wow, I've really been working remotely for the last 2 weeks. I really need some time with my people. Yeah. Okay, before we're roughly halfway through our time, so before I continue with the other 2 moving forward tools, I just wanted to pause and once again say that you automatically became a member of the roundtable when you joined today, if you weren't already. So please do, after we finish, please take a moment and share the joining link with a colleague or 2. I would really appreciate that. And also mark your calendars. I am excited. So it's also a request by a couple of members. I'm doing an entire roundtable on prompting, right? So prompting for AI tools. And it's going to be super fun. I've got some really fun things planned and very practical. So people are going to come, I'll ask people to bring, like, what do you want AI to do for you? And you'll leave with a whole library that you can access 24/7 of prompting tools. So that is on June 18th. That is our last roundtable before we break for 2 months. Um, and then if you have some subject matter expertise that you're really passionate about and you've been asked to start teaching it, or maybe you've started to teach, give workshops, speeches, etc., and you think, I need some help, I have launched the Transformative Trainers Academy. So it's a global online membership, and I put the link for more information in the chat. And if you have questions, please email me. I'd love to talk to you about joining. Okay. Are you ready to go back to tool number 2 and 3 of moving forward? Or let me just pause too. Any questions as you let that kind of sink in? If you're ready to move forward, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, so these are tools for moving forward. We've done your diagnostic, we've done the motivation. Giving a little drum roll here because you're the first group that I have shared this with. This is brand new. And this is all about when you are having trouble moving forward. So Felix and there was another person too. Pardon me. Someone else was asking about this. This tool could also be helpful for you. So there's a survey there in the chat. By the way, these surveys are very short. They just take a couple minutes to figure out. And this will help diagnose what's keeping you stuck. So this is based on, I've sort of edited some stuff from a book by, oh gosh, darn, I've forgotten his name right now. But it's all about, I think it's called Reset. Yeah, Reset. I'll put it in the workbook. And I've set up a blog post. Um, it's going to go live on the 26th. So I'll put that link in the workbook. It's not live yet. So just in 5 more days, it'll go live to explain this. So you'll find out there's 4 different reasons, kind of ways you can get stuck. Like, oh, okay, I really want to do this thing, but I just can't get moving forward. Um, you will identify as a snail, an octopus, a fox, or a chicken, and then it will give you some resources for each type that you identify. So what to do if you are that particular type. So, for example, oh, look at you, Padma say, yes, that's it. Yeah, Dan Heath. I was going to say Dan Heath, but I was second guessing myself. That's exactly it. Yeah, to reset, how to change what's not working. It's a great book. It's a really great book. So for example, if you identify as a fox, that's politics. So there's things that are happening around you that are making it tough to move forward. There's not consensus. Maybe there's people are disagreeing. Those are the kinds of things that the organization's not allowing you. The structure isn't doesn't support you. Someone mentioned earlier a toxic work environment. So you may be a fox there. And then, as I said, once you get your results, there's an answer key that will give you, I think there's 2, I put in 2 resources for each type. Okay. So we've got our motivation. You've got a sense of what motivates you. You've got a sense, once you take the survey, of if there's something that's keeping you stuck and what to do about it. The third tool is putting the I in try. I do a whole workshop I did this global release of an INGO was redoing their whole learning and development piece, and the staff really needed some work on giving and receiving feedback. And so I took a very deep dive into that topic and was fascinated to find out that we focus so much on giving feedback that to the exclusion of focusing on receiving feedback. And again, this is one small piece from the overall workshop, but I just thought it was so helpful, is that we tend to have filters. So this is some Harvard University-based research. And these filters prevent us from receiving feedback. It's a huge barrier. I do, when I work with individual teams, I get them to fill in a survey. And the difference between people giving feedback and receiving feedback, right? So I ask people, to what degree do they give feedback and what degree do they receive feedback? The biggest difference I've ever had in a team was 5 to 1, a 500% difference, meaning people are giving all this feedback, give, 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 but people are not receiving it, right? So there's a block there. That's a big, big, big problem. So what is the problem? It's these filters. So one filter starts with T, one starts with R, one starts with I. And the reason why I brought this up is you might be undercutting or undervaluing things that are right underneath your nose because you're discounting this feedback. The research is super clear that some of the best feedback comes from folks that aren't necessarily the closest to us, right? So, any guesses what the T, the R, and the I stand for? So when it comes to these filters, and you don't know that, this is all unconscious, right? We don't consciously know we're doing this, but it's like putting this huge barrier up. It's like, no, it's not getting in, right? That feedback is not landing. So any guesses? So three filters. One starts with T. Yes, Padre say truth. Yeah, absolutely. You got it. And I'll explain more in a second. So the T stands for truth. Any idea what R and I stand for? R and I. Good guess, Padre. Any other guesses? Okay. Okay, well, I will let you know then. So the T is truth, R is relationship, and I is identity. So which one do you want me to explain first? Oh, and by the way, the I have a blog post coming out about this that goes live on June the 2nd. So you can get more information there. I'll put the link in the workbook. So which one do you want me to explain first? Truth, relationship, or identity? Truth. Okay, Lisa. So if someone's trying to give you feedback and you don't respect that person, maybe you don't like them very much, there's just something um, off about that person. You don't think that they're telling you is true, then you're apt to discard the feedback, right? As opposed to really being open and just trying to have an open mind and listen to it. So it's exactly like it sounds, right? The problem is that most of us discount too much feedback too quickly. We might hear one little thing that's off and then we discount everything, right? So we filter out large pieces of feedback when we think that it's not true. But the research shows that it often is true, right? But we just discount it. Okay, which one do you want next? Relationship or identity? You have a preference? Relationship. Okay. So it's exactly what it sounds like. So maybe Felix, maybe you got the promotion that I really thought I deserved, and we have to work together, and our relationship is not very good. Or maybe, Mary Lynn, maybe I just feel this is completely not true, of course, but maybe I just feel like I can't trust you. I just don't think that we just don't have a good relationship for some reason, then we tend to really discard that feedback, even though the research shows that oftentimes the feedback is very helpful. It would be very helpful if we could let it in. Okay, the last one, and let me know if you have any questions as we go along. The last one I think is the most interesting one. So I'm going to count to three, and I'd like you to put a word or two in the chat that describes you. Like if I talk to three of your closest friends, three or four of your closest friends, people who know you really well, and ask them to describe you, they'd probably use this word, right? So on the count of three, put that word in the chat. Okay, so this is like people who know you well would often use this word to describe you. Okay, one, two, three, go. So what is that word? Okay, we've got dependable, blunt, loyal, great, kind, nice, cut, great. Okay, great. Okay, so I think what else we got? Humble, nice. Okay. So for me, one of my key traits is organized. So I really like my surroundings to be organized. It just helps me feel calm. Um, it helps still all the chatter, all the things in my head if I have an organized space around me. So the research again is very clear that if someone gives you feedback that goes against one of your core identities, we'll discard it. So let me give you an example. So I've already told you that I and anyone who's close to me, would describe me as organized. They'd use other words too, but that's one of them. And one morning, true story, when we were living in Nairobi, we had one of those water picks. Like it's a mechanized toothbrush that has um, like a what do you say? Like a coil that goes to a water thing, so that you're putting this high pressured water into your mouth. Well, you have to in Nairobi just to make sure that you don't, get sick. You don't want to use the water that's coming out of the tap. So I always had a 5 liter thing of water that we would use to pour into that reservoir, that tank, right? It's probably way too much information. Here's the interesting part of the story. So one morning, my partner says to me, you always leave the you always leave the water container empty. Instantly. It took a nanosecond, right? My defenses went up and in this is all in my head. I didn't say anything to him. I'm like, that is not true. Do you know, like I make sure that we have extra 5 liters so we never run out and like it's there and I fill that thing up all the time. So that was what half of my brain was doing. The other half was, oh, my identity's getting triggered with his feedback. And this is going to be such a good example to use in a workshop one day. So, let's do another example. So, Yvonne, if you've put down one of your core identities is dependable. So, if I gave you some feedback that, from my perspective, showed that you weren't dependable, your filter would probably come up and that feedback wouldn't come in, right? Lisa, if I gave your core word was loyal, if I gave you some feedback that demonstrated that you weren't loyal, your filter would probably come up and the feedback wouldn't get in. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Right? The whole point here is to try to keep those filters down so the feedback can come in. Right? If you're trying to increase your grit and your resilience and your ability to manage change. Hi, Nian Yang. Welcome. So happy you're here. So we've just finished, we did three tools for diagnosing, kind of where your starting point. So your will and your skill, your mindset, is it growth? Does it lean towards growth? Does it lean towards fixed? And then your grit score. And then we've just finished tools for moving forward. So taking actions. So if you know your motivation style, oh, so much easier, so much easier. It's like dressing a toddler that wants to get dressed. And if you know what tends to keep you stuck, so if you know if you're a snail, an octopus, a fox, or a chicken, and then if you can be aware of these three filters, because often there's just gold right underneath your nose, but these filters come up that prevent that feedback from getting in. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to move on to the last three tools, which are tools for, okay, I've done some diagnosis, I'm moving forward, but like, okay, Leanne, where do I focus? Like, there's a lot going on. Okay, great. See some thumbs up. Okay, so again, you've done some diagnosis, you have helped yourself figure out, how to take action, but there's a lot of different things you can focus on. So here are our final three tools. So one of them is my Rise tool. So I encourage you, there is a blog post here where you can get a lot more information if this is of interest to you, particular interest. By the way, if you're getting overwhelmed with the links, they're all going to be in your workbook, which will come to you on Monday. So you can copy the links that I'm sharing in the chat. If future you is watching this, all the links are down below, or you can wait and get them in the workbook, which all Roundtable members have access to. Okay, so the Rise tool, this is if you're facing a choice, if you are needing to take a new path, you need to take a new direction, you need to shift things around, things aren't working, whether by your choice or someone else's choice, there's just a lot going on. You know you need to do something differently, but you're a little confused about what kind of action to take. This could be a helpful tool for you. So it's very simple and it has a very critical piece to it, which is it's meant for you to let me just put my thing. So it's meant for you to have fun and brainstorm. If your inner critic is thinking, that'll never work. That's a dumb idea. Oh, we've tried that before. That'll never work. This tool won't work. So just take off the brakes because later on you can have a more analytical lens and really drill down and pick things that you want to focus on. But this tool is really, really works when you take those brakes off, right? If your inner critic is like just no 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 can't do no that costs too much, that take too much time, that'll never work, da, 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 that's not going to make the tool very effective. So what is the Rise tool? It's a quadrant, right? It's a quadrant. So you've got four different options here, again, for brainstorming, right? Just have fun with this and let her rip. The more wild and outlandish, the better, because you're just giving yourself permission to brainstorm. So the one continuum is the R and the E. Which is where R stands for revolution. So when you're thinking about changing, things on that side of the continuum are big and bold and obvious and just they're in your face and they're just so beautifully big and bold, right? Things on the other side of the continuum is evolution, which is soft and quiet and subtle and not so obvious right away, right? It's just very soft and quiet. So that's the horizontal continuum. The vertical continuum, can anybody guess what the I and the S stands for? The R is revolution, big, Bold, in your face changes. E is evolution, quiet, soft, subtle. Any guesses what I and S stand for? I hinted at this actually. I'm just remembering this. I hinted at this at the beginning of our workshop today. Okay, I'll tell you here. So I stands for individual, and S stands for structural or systemic, right? So I can give you an example. If someone wants to give me, if you can, if someone can quickly share, what are you trying to do or achieve or change? Is there some goal that you're trying to reach? If you want to share that in the comment. Did I share the? Oh yeah, okay, I did share the blog post. There's more information there. Any examples? Or we could do like someone's considering a career change, or someone is considering moving countries for a career change, maybe. I don't know. What could be something we could apply this to so I can give you a practical example? Or if you want me to, a career change. Okay, Padma say. Okay, now remember, because I'm going to guess that your block's going to come up, which is that inner critic saying that'll never work. That's going to cost too much money. I've tried that before. That's too scary. That's impractical. This is not a time to be practical. This is a time to just be wild and fun and outrageous. And then you can come back and mine the nuggets there. Okay, so we're going to consider a career change. So when we put the R and the I together, that is revolution and individual. So something really big and bold is okay, I'm going to go back to school. I'm 60 years old and I'm going to do a PhD. Okay, that's big, 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 right? Or I'm going to sell everything that I own and I'm going to move halfway across the world. I have been focusing on, I've been a vet and now I really want to focus on climate change. Okay, that's a huge change and it focuses on the individual. Okay, so the idea here is you could take a piece of paper, you can do this, online in a Word document, whatever, and you just fill that up as much as you can, big and bold, focused on the individual. Okay, I and E is individual and evolution. So still focused on me, the individual, and quiet, soft, subtle changes. So I am going to do 5 informational interviews for people who are working in climate change. I'm going to subscribe to 3 thought leaders, Substacks who or blogs or whatever who write on climate change. Um, I am going to go to a climate change conference, right? So these are smaller things, still focused on the individual. Okay. Any questions so far? Is this making sense before I give the other 2 quadrants? Okay. Let me know anytime if you have any comments or questions. Okay, and then we come to the structural or systemic. So think of this as organizational policy, procedures, laws. Um, Things are not focused on the individual, they're focused on the system, on the structure. And evolutionary. Okay, so I'm going to do a career change. So I'm going to look and see what the HR policies are around allowing me to have a leave of absence or funding to take more training, or is there a mentoring program, or right? So now I'm focused on things in the system that are still quite, they're small, gentle things. Okay, the last one here, and you don't have to do this in any particular order, is revolutionary and structural. I am going to look into completely revamping. There is no mentoring program in my organization, so I'm gonna lobby for one. I'm going to lobby my government, my municipal government, my national government, to make some changes around XYZ. I'm going to go on strike. I'm going to organize a protest. I'm going to, right? So big, bolder things to do with the system. Okay, how did that land? Making sense? You've got two more to go through. Again, you've got a blog post there. If that one's really speaking to you, you can look up that blog post and get more information. Is it okay to go on to the second to last one? Just give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay, nice. Okay, you're doing great. Okay, the last one, I use this actually. We might be moving again. So I used this tool with my husband the other day. I call this I created this. It's called my 3M tool. And, people have complicated relationships to goal setting. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are in between. So I think it's helpful to set goals at different stretch levels. So you can find out more here about the 3M. And the 3M stands for mountains, mediums, and molehills. So if we use the same example, the career change, the molehill would be a tiny little goal that I could set. Like, if I don't reach this goal, there is something seriously wrong going on because it is a tiny, tiny, tiny goal. Like, I'm going to read one blog post about climate change this week. Like, tiny, right? Take me 5 minutes. The medium is a goal that is a bit more complicated, right? A bit more complex. I'm going to do 2 informational interviews in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to set them up, in the next 2 weeks. And then the mountain that is your stretch goal. That is your, like, I'm going to interview, the leading expert on, one of the leading experts on climate change in the world, right? So give yourself some grace, especially during these challenging times. And when you're thinking about moving ahead, making a change, adapting to change, building up your grit, building up your resilience, one way, easy way to do that is set 3 levels of goals, right? Your molehill is your tiny, tiny, tiny one. Your medium one is a little harder. And then your mountain, that's your stretch goal. Okay, and then the last one is this 3D tool that I made up. And here is, you might not be surprised, here's a blog post. So pick the ones that really call to you and you can find out more about these tools. So the 3D is, think of 3 tiny things you can do, because these tools are all about taking action. 3 tiny things you can do. These are not big things that you can do in 3 minutes or less for 3 days in a row, right? So for me, this is Duolingo. Like, it is hard, to learn French, like coming from English, and there's no accents, on words or letters rather, and there's no masculine and feminine, and it's just hard to learn a language. So Duolingo takes me like 3 minutes a day, if I only do one of the lessons, and then collect data, right? Like, how is that going? Is your focus in the right area? And then shift accordingly, right? So there's no magic here. It's just based on grit and grace to help yourself move forward. And that's all she wrote. So as we go in, I just wanted to play this clip here as part of our summary.
The Pencil's Tale. Once upon a time, an old pencil maker took his newest pencil aside just before he was about to pack him into a box. Imagining the little fellow as a person, he recalled a few things about the pencil. There are 5 things you need to know, he said to his pencil. Before I send you out into the world, always remember these 5 things. Never forget them. And you will become the best pencil you can be. The first thing is to remember that you will be able to do many great things, but only if you put yourself in someone else's hands. From time to time, you will experience a painful sharpening, but remember that this will make you a better pencil. Also, keep in mind that you will be able to correct any mistakes you might make along the way. And the most important part of you is what's on the inside. And remember this as well. Upon every surface that you are used, you must leave your mark. No matter what else happens, you must continue to write. It seemed the pencil listened to him and promised he would remember these 5 things so that he could live his life with heart and purpose. You see, in life, in your life, put yourself in someone else's hand. Embrace challenges for growth. Learn from mistakes. Value inner qualities. And leave a positive mark on the world. And you too can become the best pencil there is. This was The Pencil's Tale, and this is Dare to Do Motivation. Thank you so much for watching, and stay blessed.
Okay, so, hang on here, my video disappeared. Let me just bring myself back. So the pencil tale, you're already doing work that really matters. You're already leaving your mark on the world, and we want that to continue, right? Your subject matter is so important. Your work is so important. So make sure that you get and create and reinforce community, and to give yourself grace when things get hard, right? As they are right now. And the most important thing about you is what's on the inside, right? And to leave your mark and to find and continue your life's work. Speaking of finding and continuing, I gave you a little tool here. Hang on, what happened to my video there? I made a little gift for you here, which is a Padlet. Oh, Angel, thank you for the gift or the emoji there. So this is a Padlet, and I would love, 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 love for you to fill this in. It's a really easy way to think about what you have taken away from our time together and create a little recipe, right? There's recipes for critical thinking there. There's some recipes for resilience and grit. And you just need to click the plus sign in the bottom corner, and you can add text, you can add a little video, you can add a GIF or a GIF, depending on how you pronounce it. You can add images, and that's kind of your gift to yourself as you think over and reflect on what you are taking away from today, and also your gift to our community, right? As you share your recipes, because that will stay there. You can come back and look at that. In terms of your future self, I like to talk about this toe, dip, and dive. So based on your time and your energy and your interest, please be kind to your future self and really take what's worked for you and apply that, because again, your work is important and we don't want you to burn out, right? It's just a really, really difficult time right now. So some really simple things, if you just have a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, and you just want to dip your toe in, just think about the will skill matrix, right? And how that applies to yourself. Or take one of the surveys. They take 2 or 3 minutes. So just take one of them, the mindset, the grit, the motivation, or the stuck survey. Or think about the try filter, right? What's tripping you up? Truth, relationship, or identity. If you have a little bit more time, a little bit more energy, a little bit more interest, then take a dip, right? Going up to your waist and read those blog posts that I shared. Again, they'll all be in the workbook for you. Find out more about mindset and grit and motivation. I will share a link in a moment that is one link to all the resources that I've talked about. So you can look at that. And you can also look on this How to Get Unstuck survey. I've left some more resources there based on your specific type. So depending on if you're a snail, an octopus, a chicken, a fox, etc. And then if you have lots of time and energy, like, ooh, you're really invested in, and I hope you are, in your resilience and your ability to manage change and increasing your grit, make a game plan, right? Once you've taken those surveys, really think about how can you increase your grit score? How can you improve your mindset? How can you use your motivation, etc.? Make a plan to avoid those try traps. Pick a colleague and explain. Oh, sorry, that should say the learning well. Uh, that worksheet that I shared with you. So take some notes on it and then share it with a colleague. Brainstorm using the RISE tool, and remember to shush that inner critic, right? You can be practical and pragmatic later. And then try the 3M technique. That's the medium, mountain, or molehill, or the 3D, three tiny things for 3 days in a row, and collect data on it. So I would love to know from the pencil's tail here, like what's one thing that you want to take away from here? What's one tiny step that you can take this information and this learning forward? I'm just putting this in the chat here. So what's one small step you can take? I've suggested some there, but I'm sure you have others as well, or you can use the ones I've suggested. So being kind to your future self, it's one thing to show up for a workshop. It's a whole other thing to use that learning. So is there one thing that you want to do? Oh, it could be the Padlet, right? Give us your recipe. I'm going to be monitoring that. I would really love to see. Um, while you're thinking about that, again, I would be so grateful if, as soon as we end, which is in just a minute or two, please share the link to join. I love growing this community. I'm really out to change the way the world learns, and this roundtable is part of that. If you're a UN staff person and you want this to count towards your professional development, just make sure that you sign the form that I've just put a link to in the chat. And also June 18th is a prompting workshop. Is it going to be fun? And you're going to come away with a whole library of prompt tools. Watch your inbox on Monday. You're going to get the audio recording, the time-stamped video. You're going to get the workbook. And you will also get, this time actually I made 3. Usually I just do 1. But these are links to a bunch more resources on change and resilience and grit. Oh, great. Tiffany saying sharpening can be painful, but it's good for growth. Yes, right? Knowing that difficulties arise, but there's always something good in the other side. Yeah. Oh, I love that, Tiffany. That's well said. Thank you. Yeah, let them keep coming, folks. What are you taking away from our time today? And also, right this second, the deck has arrived in your inbox. So you will get that. Members like to get that as soon as possible, they've told me. So it will come just now, and then everything else comes on Monday. And also, I'm just always looking to improve and learn and grow. So I would encourage you to fill in my feedback form, which is the link I'm just putting here. And you get to, it's another place to let me know what topics you want me to cover. And then every month I draw someone's name who wins free access to How to Ban Boring Online Meetings. So Moira won from last month. So if you fill in the feedback and your name gets pulled, you get free access to that course. So thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful. You're amazing. Please keep going. It's just, I don't know, the times right now, I always say it feels like gravity's going to stop working. So thank you for all your hard work, including working on yourself, showing up for a workshop like this. It means a lot. Yvonne's saying 3M, extend grace. Yes, to yourself. Yes. And 3D, small steps with consistency. Oh, that's a great way to describe it, Yvonne. Thank you. Thank you, Angèle. Please stay well, everyone. Stay safe, stay creative, stay learning, and I hope that we see you next month. Thank you so much.